What's up, everybody? Happy belated Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and everything else in between. Um, it's been a couple of weeks since I did a video, and not too much has gone on with the RX-7, unfortunately. I worked a lot of overtime since the last video, getting ready for Christmas and whatnot, and then was out of town for a few days with my wife, seeing her family in Chicago. So I got back last night, and she'll be there probably till this weekend. So that leaves me with a little bit of garage time this week. So not too bad, not too bad. Take what I can get. Got home about 10:30. I don't know if you can see that the clock up there. It is actually an hour behind, so it's just a fraz after midnight, so I'll probably be wrapping up here soon. But I didn't really get a whole lot into the car other than listing just some parts and stuff like that, just a little bit. So I wanted to just give you a little bit more of a walkthrough, kind of show you what I'm working with. Obviously, I told you what it is. 86 RX-7 was an NA 13B rotary 5-speed 86 model, so it's yeah, GXL trim level. It's actually a pretty good chassis so far. Other than, again, I come from Georgia and cars don't rust down there, and I bought this car about a year and a half ago from a gentleman in Indy that he bought it from a barn find. So I think the original owner drove it to roughly 98, 99, sold it to someone else. They drove it a couple of thousand miles and then parked it in a barn for 10 years. And then he picked it up, attempted to get it running by putting in a fuel pump, but it turned out the fuel tank was rusted, fuel lines were rusted, and if anyone knows anything about rotaries, if they've sat for not much time, sometimes they do not want to come back to life. So at first I was plagued with, do I want to rebuild it and Bridgeport it and just have a fun little, NA rotary again? Because I actually had one about 10 years ago that I had Mr. Landers down at Rotary Resurrection in Tennessee. Did a full rebuild, emissions delete, aggressive street ports. I didn't know anything about Bridgeporting then, so I had a street port. Just a few little things, like pace setter header, cork sport exhaust, KYB, those AGX adjustable shocks with some Tane springs that I cut because it wasn't low enough, because stance was life, but I couldn't afford coilovers at the time. And yeah, so it was a fun little street car. Drove it for, after the rebuild, about a year or so. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Just no low end power. Had plenty of high end power on the interstate, and what I would call flamethrower mode, which was basically a 5 to 3 downshift on the interstate, and that would shoot a nice little flame out the bag. So that was a lot of fun. So I was kind of thinking about redoing that all over again with this RX-7. But then I even contacted Rotary Resurrection again. I was going to try to be a repeat customer, which the price is probably one of the best around. The only catch is, since I don't live within real driving distance anymore, it would be about $300 to $400 to ship it down there. Then of course the rebuild and everything, and then another $300 or $400 to ship it back. And if my numbers were correct, it was roughly going to be about $3,000 or so to build it up the way I wanted, which was just going to be the same thing: emissions delete, OMP delete, full rebuild. He said he would do a half bridge for a little bit more than the street port. Well, street port plus a half bridge, which would give me that brap, 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 brap idle that's so much fun with the rotaries. But yeah, all in all, everything was going to be roughly about $3,000 for maybe 200 wheel horsepower, which, 24 to 2,600 pound car isn't bad. But when I was talking with my brother, who's a huge LS guy, he actually has a 2010, 2011 C6 Z06 that's basically built. I think it's mostly top end built. I don't know if he did anything bottom end, but he did have nice, crazy expensive set of heads put on there. Uh, BTR Stage 4 cam, long tube headers, X-pipe, the works, and it is a monster. I think it puts down, I think he said it's like 700 flywheel horsepower, which translates in that chassis to roughly like 580 rear wheel. So it's a monster. It screams. It's insane. So after that, after getting to drive that, and of course being around Formula Drift since forever, 2002, 3, and seeing how LSs have kind of become the norm for budget horsepower, and crunching some numbers and looking around, I was able to find my LS, my LM4, 5.3 aluminum for 500 bucks on Craigslist. Like literally, you can find them for $500. I did. Fully dressed, came out of a 2004 Buick Rainier SUV, same platform as like Trailblazer, Envoy. So got the engine out of that, and I showed you that last time. Nothing's changed, other than I halfway bolted on the universal like Jeep style engine mounts, which is going to be the start of my own semi-custom engine mounts. But anyways, so I just wanted to show you the car a little bit and kind of explain a little bit why I was going with the powertrain that I'm planning on, which is again, I've got the LM4 5.3 aluminum LS style V8 with the V6 Camaro World Class T5 transmission, big block Chevy bell housing, and I'm saving my pennies for a bell housing to Ford pattern T5 transmission adapter, because apparently this V6 transmission is a Ford pattern, not a Muncie pattern like I thought it was, and like the older T5s are. So anyways, that's 175 bucks. I'm almost there. Like I said, the whole purpose for this channel is doing the best I can with what I've got, and sometimes it takes a little while to save up even 200 bucks to spend on a car. So anyways, I'm going to try to show you the car, see if I can pause this and switch camera views. Still using my old Samsung. Got a nice little crack right here. You can't see it, but it's right there. Crushed it in my toolbox at work. Yay! So give me just a second, I'm going to switch views. Okay, cannot switch views, so I'm going to give you the aerial view. So this is the engine bay. Ow, I got crap in my eye. This is the engine bay of my RX-7. I did go through and try to do my own like little shaving, trying to fill in some little screw holes. Not exactly a full shave, but just, what I could do with my little welder. Filled in some holes, got rid of some rust, painted the whole engine bay like a metallic silver. That might change. I just wanted something clean, and with it being a basically a drift car for the street, I wanted it to be a light enough color to identify any fluids if there's ever any leaks or anything like that. Kind of funny, I'm sure this phone isn't going to do it justice, this camera, but I actually have the headlights spray painted 2 different colors. This is a metallic blue, and this is a kind of a satin finish blue. I've always loved white cars and blue cars for some reason. The 2011 to 2013 or 14 Mustang Kona blue is probably my favorite car color ever. But at the same time, I love a crisp, clean white, like Honda Championship white, Type R white. It's just glorious, and I feel like you can really appreciate the body lines of a car if it's a lighter color. So I'm kind of on the fence right now. It is a Series 4, but I have a Series 5 front bumper on there. Can't really see it too well, but the main differences are just a little bit more, I guess, aggressive look, you could say, and the trim is painted to match. So kind of a fun little fact. Dead giveaway here. So we got our black square S4 trim. It does match up line-wise, but as you can see, the S5 is a lot smoother, and the S4 is that line stuff. But if it's all painted one color, it might not be that big of a deal. Or I would like to shave the whole thing, but really the main focus is to get it running, because as my dad always said, form follows function. So in other words, get it running good and driving good, and then worry about how it looks. So that's what I'm trying to do. So anyway, here's another little shot of the engine bay. So it's pretty clean, nice and silver. Got a little overspray on the cross member there, but not too worried about that. I mean, it's going to be, you know, if I change it, I'll clean it up and spray paint it black again. Still have most of the factory chassis harness, so a lot of that is going to stay, just so I still have headlights and four ways. Sorry, that's trucker language for flashers or hazards, but still have my headlights and blinkers, turn signals, all that good stuff. I did swap to a manual steering rack, so I still have my factory power steering rack available if anyone wants to purchase it, because I no longer need it, but I opted for a manual steering rack just for better feel and lighter weight, and I really don't want to go through the headache of trying to match up power steering hoses and adapting stuff and restrictors in the line and blah blah blah. Everything you read online, it's a headache for something really silly that a car that weighs, you know, 2,400 pounds with lightweight aluminum wheels. I mean, I don't need any sissy assistances. So anyways, so let's see, what did I not show you last time? Let's see, I do, at least for the first part of this build, again, to get it running and rolling, I'm going to keep the factory diff. It's a open diff, but I think it's a 411 final drive, if I'm not mistaken. So I went ahead and did the old drift spec, welded the spider gears, and, you know, inserted a plate and welded that. It's not pretty, but it should get the job done. Let me get my flashlight and I'll show you a little bit. Now, it has been sitting in my garage welded for like 2 months, so it's got a little bit of rust on the welds, but I'll show you this. So here's my welded up spider gears. This flashlight doesn't really help much, but anyways, it's welded up, so it's going to be 2-tire fire all the time, so I'll have some nice chopping when I turn, but so that's one little deal. Ooh, I'm running out of time. I got to go quick. Anyone who's built a budget drift car or has had drift cars in the past, it's extremely painstaking, but sound deadening removal is huge. Well, they make it out like it's huge. It's literally like maybe 15 pounds once it's all said and done, and it's a pain in the rear, to put it nicely. A lot of guys use dry ice and things like that. I don't have access to dry ice at least not in my area, so I started with some keyboard duster cans upside down to freeze it, smack it with a hammer, and I bought 3 and barely did 1 floorboard. So I just opted for the old hammer and the chisel, and got all of it done, and that was a long process. And as I explained in my first couple of videos, I only have, you know, a couple hours on a weekend, if that, to work on it. So a lot of the time the last few months has actually been getting rid of that sound deadening and finding little rust holes in the floorboard and trying to do my best at rust repair. So that's what I've been working on here lately. So here's my progress of the interior so far. It's pretty clean. There's little visible holes right there that I'm going to patch up. And my first one I did right here, there's a lot of black crap from grinding this sound deadening away, but little patch piece right there, nothing too crazy, but inside is stripped. Still have my factory door card, so I may or may not sell those. They're in excellent shape, and I'm sure somebody would like them. So, all right, less than a minute left, so let's see what I can show you. But that's basically been what I've been working on here lately. Crap, I hate that I'm running out of time. I guess that's all I have for now. So finishing up sound deadening, doing some rust repair, patching some holes, things like that. I'm working on getting my transmission adapter next, and then I'll finally be able to put the transmission and engine together, at least for mock-up purposes, because I am making the rest of my transmission and engine mounts. So that's going to be hopefully the next video, but I might give you a little update here soon. But guys, take care, have fun, burn rubber, not